Hello and welcome back to Thomas's Moustache. Today we're going to be doing something a little different, although in a previous video I did say that I was interested in branching into this sort of category of filming, which is going to be whiskey and bourbon taste testing. I may branch out even further into some other liquors, but I don't think I will anytime soon, unless of course you have a special request, but I am primarily a whiskey and bourbon enjoyer. Before we get started, of course, I must apologize. I am sweating like mad. It is stinking hot in here, and I am very hot. Actually, maybe I should turn on the fan. I hope the sound of the fan does not bother you. I have my drying rag here. This is one of the reasons why I don't film in the summer, but I have been very lazy lately, so perhaps I should suffer a little bit for a video or two. Okay, so before we get into the video, let's have a bit of backstory. Now, when I was a young lad, I did not have the budget for great whiskeys. And as you could probably imagine, not many people do when they're younger. Growing up, I could only afford the most basic whiskeys, the most price-conscious selections. Generally, in my circle of friends, there were two main whiskeys. There was Jameson, and then there was Johnny Walker. Of course, Johnny Walker's more affordable variety. I was primarily a Jameson whiskey drinker. I practically only had that for a time, as it was, I'm not entirely sure why, but it just seemed to hit the right place. Famous Grouse I did not see too often as a young man, but I do know that it could be considered an affordable whiskey. Today I thought that we would start with Famous Grouse, as I think that it's good. I just got this one on sale, so I think that it could be a nice whiskey to have with you and give my impressions. Now, if you are a fine whiskey drinker, then you probably will not think too highly of this video, but I can assure you that my opinions match yours in that regard. But hopefully you'll hear me out. Famous Grouse is certainly not my favorite whiskey, but it does do something that I will always respect, and that is to introduce whiskey to young men and women, adults, young adult men and women of legal drinking age, to the world of whiskey. Any whiskey that does that, I can never say a bad thing about, in a sense, because without affordable whiskey, many people would not appreciate whiskey in its more refined forms, which oftentimes are far more expensive. So, although I have grown up and my budget allows for a more middle tier of whiskey, I do on occasion like to go down memory lane with the Jack Daniel's Famous Grouse, what have you, something more affordable, but it is purely for nostalgia's purposes. As an adult, I do prefer to focus on more middle tier whiskeys. So with that, let's begin. Let's see here. The Famous Grouse here This must be an older bottle. By appointment to Her Majesty the Queen. Scotch Whiskey Blenders, Matthew Glog and Son. I'm probably saying that incorrectly. I apologize. This is a 40%, which is the standard generally for most hard liquor, although of course you'll find ones that go above. Blended Scotch whiskey, the finest Scotch whiskies expertly blended and matured in seasoned oak casks for a rich, rounded sweetness. This is 1 liter bottle. It says, our rich, smooth blend contains exceptional grain whiskies and malts that have been selectively matured in hand-picked sherry casks. We have been making the Famous Grouse since 1896, and one thing we have learned in all that time is that reading labels is not nearly as good as discovering our famous blend. To learn more, scan the QR code. Well, it's a newer bottle than old, having a QR code now. So, Famous Grouse, the last time before this bottle that I had Famous Grouse was at the soonest, it was 2018. It might have been 2017. So that was the last time that I got to enjoy this particular whiskey. Let's see here. So color-wise, we have this beautiful amber. This particular amber is a very bright amber. Sort of like what you would see the mosquito in Jurassic Park. It's more that beautiful, brilliant yellow, orange amber. For a tester, I will do a half diamond here. There we are, a bit more. Okay. Now, before we begin testing, I should remind you that I am not an expert by any means of a whiskey taster. I do have a fantastic sense of smell, and I have enjoyed it a lot. It is my drink of choice, but I am not an expert. You may recall from the Jura video where the gentleman swishes it around and then throws it over his shoulder. I'm not that professional of a whiskey taster. Let's see here. So, first smell, you get a very strong, pure alcohol sort of scent. It's very sharp. That is one of the things that I consider to be more for the budget-friendly whiskeys. That's not to say that there is no scent, but it is quite a strong scent, what I'm getting, that pure alcohol. Whew, that's powerful. The scent, when it enters, it's almost like there's actual liquor in your nose. That's not a bad thing, of course. Then you get the after scent is quite potent, and it is special. These are, of course, the more budget-friendly whiskeys tend to be much harder to get that scent out of it. I'm getting a sort of caramelly a toffee scent. Toffee caramel, there's some fruitiness, but it is hidden. I'll coat the sides some more. That should help. It's very powerful alcohol scent. Yes, I would say that that is the primary scents, would be toffee, caramel, and some fruitiness, perhaps apple. Regretfully, I am not able to decipher any more fragrance from this. The alcohol aroma itself, that stinging aroma, is quite powerful. But perhaps we should move on to the taste. Now, when it enters your mouth, it is very smooth. There's no sharpness at all. I would say it leaves a warmth, of course, but the warmth is not generated by a sort of stinging reaction. It's almost like the liquid itself is warm. I know you may be thinking that I'm in a room that is 36 degrees Celsius, but I did bring this from a cool room, so it is actually reasonably cool. That is not the answer for that. Now, I recommend after you taste a whiskey, it is good to go in for a second smell. Once your taste buds have that whiskey infused into them, you would be surprised about how different the second scent is. Yes, I'm getting a very clear caramel toffee flavor here, or scent I should say. It is incredible how different the second scent is from the first. Before tasting it, that alcohol aroma was too overpowering, the stinging alcohol vapor. But after tasting it, it is so fragrant with caramel and toffee. It's incredible. Very smooth. Fragrance, or I suppose I should say taste. There is a caramel sort of taste. I would say it's quite potent. It's primary taste. There's a fruitiness just underneath, a sort of, I'd like to say apple, red apple, Fuji apple. Just the juice though. Yeah, it does have a very slight appley undertone. A red Fuji apple. That's what I'm tasting underneath the caramel. Very, very smooth. There may be hints of a woodiness. Very subtle hints. I would say that the scent is more toffee than caramel. It does have that, of course it has the fragrance or the taste of the affordable, which is more of a alcohol taste, you know. It is something that just comes with the budget. So if you are on a budget, of course that will be a taste you'll know. Many liquors have that more alcohol taste, but there is fragrance, there is taste with Famous Grouse. This is a rare one for me, I would say. I had a Jack Daniel's not too long ago, and I would say that I did appreciate that one a bit more. But Famous Grouse is great for many reasons. It has an excellent introduction to the world of whiskey. You've got to work for it, right? When you have less budget for whiskey, you are going to have to settle, and you are going to have to search for the things that make a liquor, a category of liquor special, such as whiskey, such as bourbon, such as vodka, such as gin, such as tequila, right? At a budget, it is more subtle to find those special and unique qualities. I would say that Famous Grouse is a great introduction to the world of whiskey for a young adult on a budget. And many people would probably say that they would not be enjoying whiskey as an adult if they did not begin with Famous Grouse or Jameson or the affordable line of Johnny Walker or any other affordable whiskey that I may be forgetting. I would say that it is good. I am glad that I started with this, but naturally I am developed a bit. And I can thank Affordable Whiskeys, of course, for opening the door to the tastes. And yes, I think that it is good. So Famous Grouse is a more budget-friendly alternative if you are on a budget. I won't give ratings for whiskeys. It's not fair to give ratings, because you have to take into account the price range and the expertise level of the whiskey drinker who would be drinking that particular line of whiskey. So I won't give any ratings in my whiskey taste tests. I'll just enjoy them. I hope that you also found this video enjoyable. And if you would like to see more, please do write a comment. But if you don't, I will do more anyways, because I do have a number of whiskeys that you might find interesting. So until next time, I'll say toodaloo.